Hey everybody, I'm out here in my 95 Jeep Cherokee. I was recently out here diagnosing a lack of air conditioning, and what I faced was three issues. One, all my refrigerant was gone. Two, my blower motor wasn't blowing, which turned out to be the blower motor itself. And three, I had a vacuum issue. Now, to know if you have a vacuum issue, it's pretty simple. Have you ever been driving in your Jeep Cherokee? And actually, this would go for any car that uses vacuum to operate the AC system, but if you've ever gotten into your car and it was on defrost, and then when you put the AC on, you noticed it switched over to your main AC, or if you've got your AC blowing and then you start to accelerate and you're driving down the road and the RPMs are building and the AC goes away and you feel it coming out here or you just feel nothing, that's a vacuum issue. And the way that works is you've got valves that are vacuum actuated, and what they do is they're actuators and they open and close these vents. And the vents dictate where the air is going to be moved. Now, as a default, it has all the air go through the defroster because in emergency, you always want to be able to see out your windshield. So they have it set up to where if you lose vacuum, all else fails, you've got it blowing through your defroster so your window is clear. But you want it to blow through here so it's nice and cold. So it's a vacuum issue. So let's go ahead and look out in the engine bay to determine what I found on my car. Before I go and do that, I'm going to be talking about check valves, and the two that I ended up purchasing. I wrote it here in the notes in the book that came with the Cherokee here. And you've got basically two vacuum check valves in the engine bay, and I'm going to show you all this. But the main one that's going to be on your intake manifold, and these are AC Delco part numbers right here. Here's your main part number, 14047619. And then you have a separate smaller one that's for your actual HVAC. And that's 004-60734. The main difference is the inlet and outlet is going to be larger on this main one. All right, so let's go ahead and go out into the engine bay and see what I'm talking about. So I got my blower motor fixed, but I don't have any AC pushing through the actual vents, and it's a vacuum leak. So the larger check valve that I was talking about is right here. And it really doesn't even need to be here. It just needs to be attached somewhere to an intake port manifold vacuum here. You could use this port. You got one here. You got one here. But this one was ready and open. And what originally how it was is this line right here is plugged in right here, and there was no check valve. You don't want that. When installing a check valve, the black end is generally going to be what's going to be facing towards the actual vacuum source. And it says VAC on this side. So make sure VAC is pointed towards the actual sucking device, which is going to be the engine, the intake manifold. So then we have this main line here, and this main line has a T right here, and off of this T there was a vacuum check valve, but it was leaking. It wasn't really bad, but it was leaking, and it should only be able to pull vacuum from one end. So if you suck on one end and it works, and then you suck on the other end and it doesn't, then you're good. Sexual references in the comments, I'm sure. So anyways, off this T, we have this line that's going to be going to our AC system. Not only was this leaking, and I was missing a check valve here, but this line has lots of little tiny cracks in it because it's a hard line. For now, I have it taped up, and I got my AC functioning great. It would be nice, you could either cut this off and put a rubber hose, or if you really want to, you take the whole dash apart and just replace this whole line. That would be ideal. So now we've addressed everything up to here, but if you notice, it's a T, and this line goes through here. It goes through here, and it has another T. And this line here goes to your cruise control. And my cruise control wasn't working until I fixed all this. Once I fixed all this, I got my cruise control back. So that was fantastic. So off of this T, this line, the main line continues, and it goes down till it gets here. It's kind of hard to see because of the lighting and all. But this right here is a vacuum canister, and it's going to hold, it's like a reservoir, it's going to hold vacuum. And this was actually broken off and not even connected. So I cut the broken piece and used a vacuum line and plugged in here. So now we have a vacuum reservoir again. And lastly, this main line right here had lots of tiny cracks. At initially looking at it, looks good, but get really close and kind of maybe bend it just a little bit, nothing crazy because it is a hard line. You'll see little crazing, or anywhere where it's been touching on something for a long time, it'll chafe and actually crack these little tiny chips off, and you'll see little tiny holes in your line. So I taped all that up. We fixed the vacuum canister. We taped this line up, and this actual, I forgot about this one, this line that comes out, and it goes to your for your heater core for your the hot water. This is your shut off here. It's like the I'm just drawing a blank on the name. It's a control valve. Anyways, we fixed the vacuum leak here, and we fixed the vacuum leak here. We've replaced both check valves. I've given you the part numbers, so get those on order. I got them both on Amazon, or you can get them at a Napa, wherever. But once I fixed all these issues, we got nice blowing air conditioning. Now, in an ideal setup, if you shut the car off and you come back to it a day later, your AC should still be blowing out here because your system should be totally sealed. That's not the case. When I shut the car off, within about 15 to 20 seconds, it'll switch back to defrost. So I still have a vacuum leak, but it's dramatically improved. And what's great about this repair is that it's not only cheap, and it's fairly easy because you kind of understand what's going on now. It's super easy to fix, it's cheap, and in my situation I fixed 3 issues. 1, the car runs better, it starts better because it doesn't have a vacuum leak, which is basically making the engine think it's running lean, so it's dumping more gas in there, so it's just very fuel efficient. It's not very fuel efficient, it makes the engine run a little rougher, and it can be hesitant, especially off the line, like off idle. So we fixed drivability, we fixed our air conditioning, blowing, and we got cruise control back. So 3 things I fixed with 1 repair, and that's pretty rare, and it was cheap and easy. So if you're in a car that's vacuum actuated system in your AC and you're losing air blowing when you're accelerating, or it's switching over to defrost on its own, any situation like that, check your vacuum system. Look for any tiny little crack, replace anything you possibly can, rubber hoses, and then check valves. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you want to see the diagnosis for the blower motor, and then maybe servicing the refrigerant, anything like that, you know, the 2 other issues I had to get through to get the AC blowing nice and cold, just let me know and I'll make a video for that too. And again, here is your information for the 2 check valves. This one right here is the larger one, and then you get your smaller one right here. And there's diagrams on Google, you can Google it. I saw a really good factory diagram that showed the whole outline, and I have it set up exactly how the factory has it for 95 now. So yeah, take care guys, peace out.